Obviously, my house, my favourite thing in the world.
So what do you do for heating here?
I'm big. I think it's made particularly difficult for people to live in this way because
Alright guys, welcome back to Liveration. In this episode, we are talking to Guy who lives on a cliff top in a caravan.
We hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know in the comments what you think and check out the channel for more similar videos like this. And with that, back to the video.
I'm Guy Markham and this is my house. I live on the cliffs on the south coast of Cornwall. I have usually one of the most beautiful views you could possibly imagine to see. I regularly joke with people that I have a £200 house with a £2 million view. Getting your money's worth today. I've been on and off this land for over 20 years now. I've had different living arrangements while I've been here. When people ask me specifically, how do you do this? I say to them, find someone with land and make their life as easy as possible for 20 years. Or at least just be more of a help than you are a hindrance. So I went to school with a landowner's son, practically a second mother to me. I want to do whatever I can to make her life better, and in return, she lets me live in this wonderful place. It's not for everyone. Not everyone wants to do this, but I think if you want to, there's probably nothing stopping you. I know plenty of people who do this with kids, do this with pets, do this as married couples. But yeah, it depends what you want out of it, why you're doing it, and to a degree, how much you're prepared to sacrifice. I've found that it's very easy to over-romanticize this sort of lifestyle. It's lovely if you love it, and I love it. But I've had people come here and be very surprised that there is actually only cold water for a shower, or that the compost toilet is just a great big hole in the ground. It's like, well, what you see is what you get. Yeah, there's a bit of extra work with some things, but all the things that people might consider as being a sacrifice, for me, I'm not bothered in the least. This is how I want to live, and I'm really grateful that I get to live in this way. So I technically don't have what I would call a real job anymore, but private security was my main source of income for the past decade. I started making stupid videos for my own amusement, really, and some of my friends' kids turned around to me and said, "Oh, you should put those on TikTok." And I was like, I'm 36, I don't have TikTok. So I downloaded it and put it on, and they started to hit, and someone shared one of my videos to Instagram, and I put it on there, and it just started to grow. And yeah, I don't really make any money doing it, but I make enough that I can eat and put petrol in the bike, and yeah, that's something to be really grateful for. I'm really happy about that. So yeah, I've managed to disconnect. Like I don't need a real job at the moment. And you know, there is 72 acres here. There's usually something that needs doing. I can do those things, do a bit of work here and there to keep myself going, keep on top of the rent, and even earn some extra cash every now and then. But yeah, every single week where I can do more than eat and fill up the tank is just fantastic. So yeah, I live down like half a mile of track, which is really nice for me because, as I said, I do value my privacy. I like the fact that I can do whatever I want, and no one really knows I'm here. The family who own the land live up there, and yeah, I get to do my own thing. It's nice. So once again, you know, the weather's been a bit against us today, but the thing that I love the most about here is you can, believe it or not, see about 20 miles down the coast that way, about 30 miles down the coast that way. It is absolutely beautiful. So these, quite simply, these are the stables. So it's still a working yard. We don't farm any animals. It's mostly conservation projects. So I help out with that as much as I can. In terms of like this area, this is what's mine. I do have some storage in there, obviously, with the barn and the stable. I'm allowed to kind of do what I want with the place, but I obviously run it by the owner first. Obviously, my house, my favourite thing in the world. Seating for when we have people inside her to, again, enjoy the view. I wish I'd done my washing up before you guys came, but yeah, this is my washing up, and ever so popular on the internet shower area. So yeah, come out here in the morning, clean myself out, clean everything else up. What most people often find the most interesting is the traditional vintage outhouse, which I love. So one of the series of things I do online is, I mentioned earlier, I have this thing where I read books on the toilet to classical music. It's called Books on the Bog. No one watches it, but it's got this really like hardcore group of fans, and if I don't do one for a while, they start requesting it. So yeah, if you've got a book you want read, let me know. But I don't know if you actually want to see down the thing, but basically it's a long drop. There's a great big hole in the ground. I dig it out once every however long it needs doing. Sawdust, toilet paper, solar lamp up there. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Gives me everything I need. A lot of that storage for the land. We use that for like livestock control. Again, used for livestock and storage. This is more like my area. Keep the bikes in here. I've got my little home gym, garage. So yeah, regardless of the weather, I've got a nice clear place to work on the bike. I find it really enjoyable doing my own maintenance. I'll bring a speaker in here, stick a podcast on, stick some music on and just tinker away and get my hands greasy. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So I'll show you the storeroom as well. In terms of my storage, believe it or not, there is an order to this. A lot of the top shelf is stuff I had when I lived in a house that I haven't repurposed yet. A lot of the middle shelf is motorbikes and camping, and the bottom shelf is everything else. Obviously my tool rack here. A few years ago, I was best man for a friend of mine. He gave this very nice speech. He said, you're the most self-sufficient human being I've ever met. I don't know what you get to a man who doesn't want or need anything. And he said, so I got you a giant Scottish claymore, which was really cool. He couldn't actually bring it to the wedding venue. They wouldn't let him. I pity the poor soul that comes here to nick something and finds me swinging that about in my dungarees. Yeah, I spend the majority of my time outdoors. I mean, I kind of say to people that, you know, I pretty much live outdoors. It's like, that's got a roof, but yeah, I spend most of my time outside, and I like it that way. I do spend a lot of time just looking at the view, listening to the birds. It's kind of nice. Like, again, I don't want to like over-romanticize it too much, but there's something to be said for just sitting and like watching the world go by sometimes. It's really nice. People should try it. So I'm taking you down to a cliff path that I built. Because the owner owns down to the low tide line, we made a beach path for people who visit the land. So yeah, you can sort of see here, like the other advantage of living here, we've already had a few pheasants jump up. There's loads of rabbits. You can forage really easily. There's all kinds of mushrooms like wild garlic, rock samphire. You know, you only need a little book. And I don't subsist entirely off of that, but it's nice to know that the option's there. I can save a bit of money. There's usually something edible about, which yeah, is very nice. So yeah, these wild garlic, is it damsons or ramsons? I can't remember. It's wild garlic, grows in like a triangle like that. And yeah, you can eat that straight away. Add it in a salad, stick it with something. It's lovely. So I can just come down here and liven up most of the dishes I've got. So yeah, it's really nice. Like if I just feel the need for it, I can come down here, go for a swim. You know, it's not the Bahamas, but it's nice. And when the sun's out, it's gorgeous. One of the most like common things that happens when I like friends who live in cities, and you bring them down here and like they first come down that track, or they come into the main the main entrance through the farm, and they see the view and they see all this stuff. Like their mind's just blown. They're like, well, why do you ever leave? And you know, like I've been lucky enough to go to a lot of different places in the world, and I think this place is still my favourite. So yeah, I live in my favourite place. I love living like this. With some of my past jobs, I've had to like get rental agreements again and move back into houses, and I just don't really like it very much. The last rental agreement I had was a flat in Brighton, and it was £1,100 a month before all the bills and everything else that came with it. You know, it's not for everyone, but you really don't need much, especially nowadays. Like the ways that you can facilitate living like this, like I've got a sort of all-in-one solar rig and battery that does okay for power down here. I only really charge my phone and my laptop. Gas cooking, like everything's just kind of, it's simpler, it's easier. I would always get a bit stressed out. It's a weird thing. I don't like letters coming through the door that aren't handwritten. Handwritten letter's lovely. You get a handwritten letter, that's like, oh cool, what's this gonna be? Whenever you get a letter with typeface on it, it's like, well, this is gonna be rubbish. Whatever this is, like, it's rarely good news when you get that. It's usually someone saying you owe us X amount of money for being alive. Yeah, I'm not saying that's the case all the time, but it was just, I always found that kind of frustrating. I like being sort of separate from it. I can go and see civilization when I want to, but I don't necessarily want to be a part of it all the time. So yeah, the plan is to build on it, but again, still keep it simple. So I've got a ball pen in there. I want to stick solar panels on the roof, get a lot more leisure batteries, build up a proper sort of off-grid power station essentially. I'd like to build on it, but it's still going to be in the idea of keeping it simple. It'd be nice to grow a little bit of food, have some rainwater collection, just to have it and use less of the grid stuff, because the only thing I'm on the grid for is water. And yeah, a few more solar panels, get myself in a slightly more comfortable position, but I'm very happy with how it is. This will probably get replaced at one point because it's pretty old and grotty now. I got this over 6 years ago. A friend of mine was using it as a tool shed, and he just said, it was like, oh, would you like an upgrade to your living arrangements? And we got that, cleaned it out. Yeah, it's a few years ago, the landowner just said, would you like to sort of have the stables as your patch? And yeah, I've been here ever since. Realistically, I just kind of sleep in here and cook in here. But I mean, on top of that, like, you know, if it's pouring with rain outside and the weather's absolutely miserable and I've got enough battery power, like, I still play computer games. Like, I like to get my laptop open. So yeah, for power, this isn't actually meant to be an outdoor all the time rig. I've used it as such, and it's got a bit battered in the process, but it's held up very well, and you have your own battery and inverter. In the summer, I don't want for power. It's done me well over the few years that I've had it. If you want it just for the basics, a full battery will run your phone for over a week. If you want to like get your laptop open and watch Netflix or whatever, that's about 8 hours. If you want to do like really high scale gaming, then you've got about 2 hours. But yeah, like I don't, most of the stuff I have doesn't require electric, so it's perfect for me. I don't know how we're all going to fit in here, but you can try. Come on in, come on in. So don't worry about shoes. No, there's always mud. So this is my personal organised system, which I never really do. Once every 2 months, I stick a load of new ones up, and when I do one of them, I pull it off. Yeah, got lots of nice photos and memories and things that I've had over the years. I keep up a lot of photos. I notice now when you go around places, people don't have physical photos up very often anymore, and these are all starting to get damp and curled, but they make me happy. There's a lot of like good memories in them. You can see it's fairly bare bones. Like, I've got my bed, I've got a little camping stove there, keep my food in here, clothes in there, books up there, nice speaker. I'm fine in here. I mean, you can see, like, I'm a big guy. Like, this is just about the right size. I would like to get something bigger. I want to upgrade at some point, but I've got this now, and it does fine for me. I'm pretty happy with it. I've got a place to sleep. Outdoors, I've got like space for company. I've got, like, you know, I could always have hot water, like for tea and coffee. I cook pretty simply. I've got a barbecue that for most of the year I can do all my cooking on, particularly if I've gone out and like got pheasant, rabbit, things like that. So yeah, like I do a lot of very old-fashioned style of cooking, but the gas is still very useful. I can survive without it, but I quite like it. I mean, I'm sure some people would look at this and go, God, you poor thing. But like, I love it. My mum actually, I think was sort of worried about me for a while with like the various living arrangements I have. And then she came down and to visit when I'd first moved this here, and I'd set up the yard and everything. And like, it was a day where you could actually see the view, and she was just like, this is beautiful, this is lovely, I see where you do it. I've had other friends who like will come down for, you know, a night or a party or whatever, and like, you know, they're doing what they want to do. They've got houses, they're having kids, they're getting married, you know, it's making them happy. But every now and then one of them will turn around to me and just be like, yeah, I get it, like I see why you do this. And yeah, like I say, I don't think it's anything special to live like this, and it doesn't work for everyone, but I love it. It makes me happy, and there's no reason people shouldn't go and try it and see if it works for them.
So what do you do for heating here?
I'm big. Yeah, so like people are worried about it's cold. I don't have a wood burner. People have questioned me about that. I'm basically a giant human hot water bottle anyway. I'm a big person, so I get a lot of thermal mass. I do have a hot water bottle. I don't really use it that often. If I can get some company around here, that's always nice. But yeah, in general, it's just me, and I seem to do fine. Like what I do on the really cold nights in winter, I've got a duvet there, and I've got a Slovenian army blanket tucked up there, and I just put an extra blanket on, and wouldn't you know it, I'm still alive. If I upgrade things, I would like to get something with a wood burner, but yeah, I survive perfectly fine without it. I doubt you'll get anything usable because it's probably out of tune, but let's see if I can. Yay! That's about all I can do with that. Unfortunately, I do think that when you look at how this country's run, and in fact how most places are run, it does seem to be set up against living this sort of lifestyle, which is a shame, because as I said earlier, it's not for everyone, but for some people it's exactly what they want. And I think we should be given the freedom to live how we want to. You know, you don't have to be some anti-conformist to not want to live in a flat and work in an office. It's like, if you want to do that, great. There's a lot of people that don't want to do that. And it does seem that the government as a whole are not overly keen on people living like this, like not being in a house, like not being on grid for utilities and bills and things like that. I think it's probably the independence more than anything else. It's beneficial for them to not have a populace that is too independent and doesn't need the government for much. I personally don't feel I need them for much. I think it's made particularly difficult for people to live in this way because it's not beneficial for the people in power to have people living this way. If even 10% of the country chose to live like this, they would probably be losing out on a lot of revenue and a lot of control that they have over the populace. You know, I'm not saying it's like a rebel act in any way to live like this. I just think you should be allowed to do it. Well, my favourite thing is waking up and seeing this view, which is not there. The nearest other habitation to me is half a mile away. I can pretty much do my own thing. Like, I come out here in the morning stark naked and go and have my shower on the hose pipe, and you know, like I never have to worry anything. Although there is a paragliding school just down the road, and one or two of them have caught a free show over the years. But I usually just wave at them. You know, there's nothing you can do at that point. The downsides of it, it's actually really hard to think of the downsides for it, which is nice. Constant maintenance is a bit tricky. Like, I like dramatic weather. We do get 70-mile-an-hour winds. I am on the south coast. That Caravan is not looking as healthy as it has looked in the past. But like, that's still fun. It's just an extra challenge. It's enjoyable to deal with those things. Well, if you like the sound of what I'm doing, then yeah, it's I am Guy Markham on Instagram. I mainly talk about motorbikes. I make silly videos. I read books on my compost toilet to classical music. It's a whole load of nonsense really, but people seem to like it, and so far it's working well for me, and I hope it continues to do so. Like, I genuinely do wake up grateful every day. It's wicked. So yeah, come watch some of my videos, see if you like it.
Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that video there, and a big thanks to Guy for sharing a story with us and showing us around.
Make sure to give him a follow, all the links will be below, and sub to our channel as well if you want to see more content like this. And with that, see you in the next video.